So, episode 12 of season 2 is entitled Better Angels in Memory of Dale.
And so it starts with Dale's funeral, and
Mm-hmm.
they're all going around saying how much they loved him and that he would, like, I think someone even says that, like, he could be frustrating, but he was always right.
Yeah, I think Dale's, or I'm Rick is, now I'm doing it, like, with the Daryl thing. But yeah, I think Rick is saying that, maybe, yeah.
And he's like, we're going to prove him wrong. We're going to work together.
Mm-hmm. He said this group was broken.
Yeah.
But we're going to prove him wrong by being unbroken.
So you brought up a good point.
Thank you.
That, like, I don't think Dale ever met Randall.
I don't think so. I mean,
He was just this,
Yeah.
like, faceless figure.
Yeah,
That was, like,
he
he
was
knew
just,
was
like-
in the slaughter shed, but...
he was like, yeah, he knew that he was a prisoner, but I don't think Dale actually interacted with or maybe even saw Randall.
I don't think
like in the
we
flesh.
I don't think we
Yeah.
ever see him.
Oh, we
speak.
definitely don't. Yeah, we definitely never see him, like Dale actually see Randall or talk to him, and like there's no indication that he did, like off screen. And like, isn't that kind of crazy? Because like
He's advocating so
he's
hard.
like so dead set. And I mean, like, as I said previously, okay, yes, it makes sense to be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't just like execute him like at the drop of a hat. Like, you know, okay, we should think about it.
We should talk about it, but
Dale is like,
He
that's the
consistently
that's
goes
the hill
against
he's
that.
gonna die
Yeah.
on. Like, he's like, that's like the
Literally.
most important
he
thing.
literally
Yeah.
dies because of it.
It's like, yeah, because he had a temper tantrum
Yeah,
and got
and, like,
himself
stormed
torn
off.
open.
Yeah.
Like recklessly
Jeez.
wandering in the field. So like Dale is just like in the previous episode, I mean, he's just like not gonna let them execute Randall like without like throwing every tantrum like he can. Like he's like, and so it's kind of weird because like for all he knows, like Randall is like the most disgusting, like horrible, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because like just based on what Daryl told the group after he was interrogating Randall, like, I mean, that sounded pretty
Right.
bad.
He sounds like a pretty
he
terrible
was he was
person.
like, if his group rolls in, our men are dead and our women will wish they were. And it's
Right,
like,
right.
so like,
But that's what you want to defend,
yeah,
Dale.
like Dale,
What,
for all
like,
Dale
you don't
knows,
have
yeah.
anything to go against that. Like, you've never
Uh-huh.
met him, you've never seen him, you have no reason to believe he's better than that.
Like, for all Dale knows, Randall was just, like, bragging about, like, eating puppies and, like, eating babies. You know what I mean? Like, he could be just, like, laughing about, like, what a horrible person he, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, from what we saw, like, okay, I mean, he is disturbingly horrible, I think. But, like, I mean, he's like, I didn't do those things, you know?
Right.
And it's like,
He tries to backtrack.
Right, but for all, even though he clearly did, but,
Right.
like, for all Dale knows, he could just be, like, bragging about that shit. Like, isn't that kind of concerning that Dale's just, like, doesn't seem to care?
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to take the moral high ground.
Yeah.
And, like, prove what a wonderful person and wise old man I am. Like, I didn't really think about that when we were recording last time, but, like, Dale has, like, absolutely no frame of reference for, like, who Randall is or what he's done. Like, what kind of threat he could be or whether he deserves to be executed. And it's just kind of like, geez, okay.
So, one thing that really frustrates me about Lori is how she constantly flip-flops about Shane, where
Yeah.
it's like, you've protected us, and then it's like, stay away from me and my family.
Yeah.
Don't leave. Stay here
Yeah.
for Carl. You're a horrible person. Like, don't speak to me. And
Yeah.
then she, like, decides to change again, and so now she's for Shane, even though she already told Rick to kill Shane.
Yeah.
Now she's for Shane, and she thinks that he's a good guy.
And it's like, I would like to understand why the character did that.
It must be because she's in this, like, love triangle.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you mentioned, like, it could be, like, pregnancy hormones, maybe? Like, maybe she's, like,
But,
feeling a little
I mean-
moody? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I think it's, because it's like, okay, all that happened is, like, in this episode, Rick is, like, Shane's not all bad, like, he's in a bad situation, or, like, he's all mixed up or something, so, like, Rick is kind of defending him, like to Lori, and like I think the rest, like I think there were some other people there, but like so that could kind of explain it.
Why she flip flops again?
Yeah, but and then Dale's death. That's it. Like
Yeah.
those are the old. Like that's it. Like otherwise, there's nothing. Like nothing really changed to make her go from he needs to be killed for the
he's
good
an
of the
okay
group
guy.
to oh yeah he's not yeah it's like
He's going through
that's
some
that's
hard
quite
times.
that's
Yeah.
quite a reversal. I mean yeah oh no
So,
go ahead.
Like again, no one is watching Randall. He's in the slaughter shed for hours upon
Yeah.
hours. No one goes and checks on him. Shane does, like, sporadically, and he probably
Right.
checks on him the most. And so the last time he goes to check on him, he sees that Randall is trying to escape and like get out of his cuffs. And so he decides to take matters into his own hands.
Yeah,
And
literally.
and so he like takes Randall out of the slaughter shed and into the woods, and he's like pretending like he's gonna go with Randall to his group, to Randall's group, and he's like, I'm done with this group and blah blah blah, and then he ends up killing Randall.
Yeah.
But I just like, for being a cop, for being someone who's supposed to be like pretty like cunning and like smart and
Yeah.
He-
He must have like Shane must have experience with criminals like making shit up
yeah,
and like
I
catching
mean,
them in lies.
he's
you
able
know?
to like pretend enough that he wants to join this group to convince Randall, but he's not good at like making up his cover up
No,
stories.
he's not. Yeah.
Like, because he locked it on the outside. I think it just would have been so much better if he had said like, oh well, I was going to check on him one more time and he had slipped out of his cuffs and he attacked me and ran into the woods or something like that. Like,
he could have made up much better,
It
more
just-
plausible stories.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just I
No,
feel like
it's-
that's a
it's
character
true.
flaw of Shane's.
I think so, yeah, because like much like with Otis, yeah, it's like he just kind of makes up like overly complicated cover stories,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and there's really no need for it. Yeah, he
But
could have done a lot
like,
more. He didn't need to break his nose. He didn't,
the
yeah,
overcomplication is how people find out.
yeah,
So he comes back and he's like, Randall got out, he attacked me. And it's like, he said he broke his nose, even though, I mean, he, like, Shane broke it on a tree. And he said that Randall got his gun. He, like, buried his gun. And he said,
like
Randall
I don't know
got
why he did that.
I
Like
don't
I don't know.
either.
That seems
And so, they go out to find Randall. And so it's nighttime. So it's Glenn and Daryl together. And, did T-Dog go with them? I thought...
No, it's just Glenn and Daryl
Okay,
in that
okay.
like it look like tracking him anyway.
And
Yeah.
Shane and Rick are together in a group. So Glenn and Daryl, they like, Daryl's just too good at tracking. It's nighttime. There's a full moon out. You made a good point that
Thank you. Because like I think like several like some time I think is supposed to have passed since the last episode. I know they're doing like the funeral for Daryl, or I mean for Dale. But like okay, because it's like the weather's changing, some like walkers have found their way onto the farm, like some things have happened. And it's like it seems like every single time some like things are happening at night on the farm, like characters are going out, it's like really bright out, and it's got to be like a pretty full moon, but it just seems to be that
it's
way
just
perpetually.
a constant full moon here,
Yeah.
apparently.
Like I don't like weeks have passed, and just every time like there's no way that makes any sense.
No.
It can't be the full moon or
All the
a full
time.
moon. It can't be that bright all the time.
Right.
Like that doesn't make sense because it's always so bright that the characters are just able to like see everything, no
Yeah.
problem. Like they're just like, "Oh, hey dude, like, I see you changed your hair." Like it's like what the hell? Like it doesn't make sense.
Well, and so Daryl's tracking at night, and I know
Under
that
the
he's
cover of
like,
the trees,
right,
yeah.
right. So like the moon really isn't that bright under the trees, but he's like, oh yeah, this is where there was a struggle, and it's like, wait, but you're out in the woods. Like other animals could have done
Yeah.
that, or another walker could have come by, or something. It just seems like implausible that he's that good and he can just tell, especially at night under tree cover. And then they see Randall as a walker, and Glenn kills him, and then they're examining his body apparently, and they're like,
They're
oh,
obsessed with like, oh, we gotta check for bites, which I just think is weird because it's like, but they all assume without questioning it ever that bites are the only way, or
right.
maybe
scratches.
Yeah, but like that you gotta like contract the infection from a walker.
Yeah.
So why do they even bother? Shouldn't they just
bites?
assume?
Yes.
Oh yeah, of course he was like.
Right.
I just find it a bit weird how like their first impulse, I mean, when convenient to the plot, when they get their hands on like a deceased walker, is like, oh, let's check for bites.
Right.
Like that's just like they're like, of course. And I mean that's just a side note. I think it's a bit strange how everyone is just like, oh, of course, only bites and scratches. Like no one seems to ever. It never seems to occur to anyone like, hey, maybe this thing is airborne or something.
Right.
Like it just seems a bit weird that like they just like they apparently can't conceive that it's not bites and scratches. So anyway, yeah, so they look I mean, I'm not being serious, but they stripped Randall down to like look for bites because they're so obsessed with bites. Daryl's like, there's no bites here. That's not really how he sounds, but there's like, and Glenn's like, how is that possible? And like,
and Daryl's like, his neck is broken.
Yeah, neck's broke. Yeah,
but like, okay, is Daryl suddenly like
wow.
a foreigner? Does he know like cause of
like,
death
wow,
just by looking at him? Like, how severely was his neck broken?
Yeah,
and like his neck wasn't like turned around the wrong way.
When we saw him as a walker,
it looked pretty normal.
He seemed normal, yeah.
But also, like, so walkers have the ability that the human did when they were alive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Walker Randall should be paralyzed.
Yeah, I mean, if his neck was like severely broken and his spinal cord was damaged, I mean, there's a good chance that he should have been paralyzed as a walker. I think that's something they should have shown, show at some point, where it's like, oh, this walker suffered a broken neck and that's what killed him, and then, and so then they're like, a paraplegic or a quadriplegic walker or something like that. Like have some kind of, because they are like to some degree limited by like physical damage they suffer and like suffered as a human. Yeah.
So on the other side, Shane and Rick are out in a field, and Rick starts figuring out that Shane was lying about his story about Randall, and realizes that this was all a ruse to lure him out there so that Shane could kill him.
Yeah.
And so they like they're having like this verbal fight, and Shane's like, I'm a better father, I'm a better husband, you should never have come back. And Rick is like, I'm not doing this, I'm not gonna fight you, I'm not gonna, like, you're gonna have to kill me.
You're gonna have to kill an unarmed man,
right,
Shane.
right.
Yeah.
And starts like handing Shane his gun.
Yeah.
And then wha-pow, pulls
Stabs
out a
him.
knife and stabs him and kills him. And he's like, you made me do this. This is your fault.
Not me.
This was
not
you.
Me.
You
this
made
was
me.
You. Yeah.
You made me. And surprise,
his
Carl's
his
there.
British accent starts to slip through.
He does a little bit.
And then he howls at them. He's like, ah, ah, after he kills Shane, like, and he's like, ah, ah.
And surprise, no one was watching Carl, and Carl was there, and he saw. And I don't understand. How does no one watch
they just
Carl
gave up,
ever?
Yeah. Like, what is Lori doing? Like, why wasn't she,
I don't know.
Oh, no,
they
just don't, yeah. And also, I'm curious how long Carl was standing there watching them, because, like, shouldn't he have, like, tried to stop Shane or something?
Yeah, he
he did? Okay,
like,
I don't know,
he's
okay.
like, in the next episode, he's like asking Rick, like, what happened and stuff like that. So I don't know how long he was there.
Yeah, because like shouldn't he have like pulled his gun on Shane at some point? Like when Shane, and been like, "Hey, you guys stop that," like it's kind of like, okay, would he have just stood there and let Shane kill Rick? I'd probably not. Yeah, but it's a bit weird. Yeah, and like no one's even trying to watch Carl anymore.
No,
like I said, they need a child leash to like just leash him to something. Yeah. Or like put him in a kennel or something, like a dog.
So Rick notices that Carl saw, and he's walking towards Carl slowly, and he's trying to be, like, non-threatening, and Carl raises his gun, and from Rick's perspective, he thinks that Carl wants to shoot him. But really, Shane has reanimated very, very, very,
Very
quickly.
quickly, yeah.
And is coming up behind Rick, and Carl shoots Shane.
Yeah. So I want to mention that I like the fact that when Shane is reanimating, like shortly before he reanimates, they show like flashes of walkers like eating and snarling and like what's going on in his like reactivated brain. Because we saw that with Jim before, but it wasn't clear whether that was like him kind of hallucinating that stuff.
You're
like
right.
like whether that's like him becoming a walker or him just sort of like delirious and like thinking, like knowing he's going to turn into one, that kind of thing.
That's a good point.
Thank you. So I like how like this clearly shows, it kind of shows like what walkers are thinking on some level, and it clearly shows that was like the brain, like the vestigial brain reactivating and like thinking, like that's their like impulse is to feed and to snarl and such.
That's interesting.
Thank you.
And then it shows, like, as Rick and Carl are starting to, like, walk back to camp, that right past the fence,
Yeah.
maybe, like...
Maybe 100 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, not
it's pretty
very, I was going to
close,
say
yeah.
30 yards. Yeah.
Oh, no, but that's, yeah.
Right.
Mhm, yeah.
That, like, there's this huge horde of walkers. But, like you said, like, the moon is out bright enough that they can see
like
well enough,
apparently they don't need flashlights. They
Right,
can just
that
like
they can-
see
right.
everything. They can
So,
yeah.
they should have seen the walkers. They should have heard the walkers.
Yeah.
Walkers are not sneaky.
No, except when convenient. Yeah. These
Yeah.
walkers were like
When it's
trying to like,
convenient.
they were like, okay, be quiet, everybody.
Right,
As long
they
as
don't know we're
possible.
here.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, but it's like they really should have. I mean, I know, like they should have, I know they were like distracted by Shane and everything, but they should have seen all that movement because it's like a whole crowd of them, like coming out of the trees.
Right. And they start, like, coming towards Rick and Carl because of...
The gunshot?
Right, when Carl shot
Yeah, Shane.
And
yeah.
so, like, they were already pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And that takes us right into the last episode of the season.
Yep.